That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that special time of year. It's Christmas in June. It's time for E3 2017, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, where all the big companies show off their big stuff in a giant conference setting that gets us salivating at our computer screens at all of the amazing new trailers. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo certainly delivered this week, and I would like to discuss all of the games that I am incredibly hyped about. Of course, I would like to hear your thoughts as well, so if there were any big games that were shown off at this year's E3, make sure to tell me what they are in the comments section below. But first and foremost, let me make something painfully clear. This year's E3 belongs to this woman right here. That's Samus Aran. She's coming back, and not just one, but 2 titles. And you know what? That's fucking awesome. Being able to contain my excitement for the announcement of 2 Metroid games, honestly, it's hard to control. I didn't do like a reaction video or anything today, but I can assure you, if there was a camera in the room, I was certainly jumping up when they announced Metroid Prime 4. I myself am a massive Metroid fan. I love just about every single entry in the series to death. Super Metroid is easily in my top 3 favorite video games of all time. It's that influential. It's the type of game that I actually go back to on a yearly basis, and like a fine wine, it just gets you drunker every time. So you can only imagine what it was like to see that we're not just getting Metroid Prime 4, a game which has needed a sequel for such a long time, considering that Metroid Prime 3 ended with a cliffhanger ending. If you got 100% on that game, there was this mysterious ship that appeared at the end that was chasing after Samus. Of course, we all know that's Bounty Hunter Psylux at this point, but I always wanted to know, what is this actually going to lead to? And flash forward a decade later, and it looks like we might finally be getting our answer. Apparently, Retro Studios is not going to be developing Metroid Prime, but I'm willing to let that go considering that a lot of the original team members have left Retro entirely, so even if they were to bring in a new team, it's going to be inherently different. And I want it to be different, as long as, of course, it carries the spirit of Metroid Prime, a game that, just like Super Metroid, always managed to surprise me. At first, I was not really gelling with the original Metroid Prime game when it was released. I wasn't a big fan of the first-person option. When I finally got around to playing it, it blew my mind. In fact, the first time I played Metroid Prime was at a Target. They had this like big GameCube kiosk. I went up to it, I started playing it, I was like, huh, this is actually kind of cool. Because at the time, I really wasn't all that great at shooters, but what I loved about Metroid is how it didn't play like other shooters. Really, the whole first-person aesthetic was just that, an aesthetic, just a brand new way to view the world. Little did I realize this is basically a Metroid game simply in first person, and it was easy to control, it was fun to explore, and I just got sucked in. And that again makes Metroid Prime one of my absolute favorite games as well. Not in the top 5, but certainly in the top 10. Yes, there are 2 Metroid games in my top 10 favorite video games of all time. What I'm trying to say is I love this series. I absolutely cannot get enough of it, and it's just sucked to see it go down the shitter these last couple of years with Metroid Other M. I can't really add any more to that dialogue that anyone hasn't already said. And then, of course, there was Federation Force, which came out last year, and I didn't even play it. I didn't even pick it up. I just wanted nothing to do with it. And this is almost like Nintendo apologizing. They're like, all right, you know what? We fucked up. We screwed up the anniversary of Metroid. Here are 2 games, and you know what? We're going to play to the strengths of both of them. Here's a sequel to Prime and a remake of a classic game. That's the other thing that really surprised me. I'm really excited for Metroid Prime 4. I know it's going to be amazing, but we know nothing about the game. All they've revealed was like a just title screen or just like a logo for the game. There's really nothing there. It's basically just telling the fans, shut the hell up, we're making the game. But we have the Return of Samus, which is being remade, which is a game that I used to own on my original Game Boy. I now have a downloadable copy of that on my 3DS, and I'm glad they're remaking this one because it was just begging to be remade, especially with the fact that the original game was done with Zero Mission, and this is sort of like a spiritual successor to that, and also sort of being new in its very own way. Not only is it a remake of the game just from the ground up, but there's some brand new mechanics that they're including in the game, like melee combat, and being able to aim in directions and be a lot more accurate with your shots. It just seems like such a great step in the right direction in implementing the good over-the-top nature of Metroid Other M while getting rid of all the unnecessary stupid story elements. They're taking the best things they've learned from every single Metroid game and incorporating it into this game, which only comes out in a couple of months, which blows my freaking mind, which also pisses me off because I'm going to be completely broke with all the amazing games that are coming out. And that's not even speaking of all the other amazing titles that are going to be releasing in the next year or so. So let's just end it there with a Metroid. I could just gush about it all day, but let me just say, it's the thing that surprised me most about this E3, and it's what's honestly got me the most excited. Cannot wait to pick up Return of Samus in the fall, and my god, the wait for Prime 4 is going to be excruciating. If you haven't played the Prime games and you have a Wii U or a Wii, pick up the Metroid Prime trilogy. It's totally worth your time. It's one of the greatest first-person adventures that has ever been created. So there it is, that's my thoughts right there. But before we get to any more Nintendo stuff, let me just give some of my thoughts about some of the other games that I saw. I don't own an Xbox. I'm a PS4 Nintendo guy, but I did watch Microsoft's conference, and I really liked some of the stuff that they showed off. I honestly think, of the three, they might have done the best in terms of presentation, but that's just because they gave so freaking much to the viewers. And ironically, the games that I like the most are a fighting game and this brand new BioWare title, which is called Anthem, which just looks awesome. It basically looks like Destiny with Iron Man suits. It's the only way that I can honestly equate it, but it looks absolutely beautiful. There is going to be a team mechanic in the game where everybody gets to customize their very own mech suit and go around on this cool alien world and fuck shit up. That's like pretty much the gist of all of it. And then, of course, there is Dragon Ball FighterZ, or Dragon Ball FighterZ, which I think is like the best fighting game of E3, and it's a Dragon Ball game, and as a fan of that franchise, that gets me personally excited, because it's been a long time since I've actually cared about a Dragon Ball game. I've talked about this in length. I've made a video about it, and I even have another video that I'm planning of my top 20, that's right, 20 requests that I actually want to see in that game. Basically my wish list of favorite characters, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But the game looks amazing. The trailer was really cool, but they finally started to release some brand new gameplay of it, and we got to see more of the game in action. And my god, I can't wait for this one. Also, there's going to be a closed beta at the end of the summer. You can bet your ass that I am definitely going to be there. Excited for that. And really, that's all I have to say about Microsoft. I know there are other games that they released that looked fucking awesome and everything, but we just gotta keep moving, because it's mostly the Nintendo stuff that I care about. PS4, not gonna lie, kind of disappointed by their overall conference. Hell, I think Ubisoft did a little bit better. I'm not going to talk about Ubisoft, though, because it's just, that could be its own fucking video. PS4 had some really good games that I was looking forward to, but most of them were stuff that we saw last year. I think that's something that we can all agree on. Basically, they just keep remastering their games as well as their conferences. There's really nothing that crazy going on here. I got really my hopes up when I saw Shadow of the Colossus. I was like, oh my god, are we going to get a Shadow of the Colossus sequel? And it's just a remaster. That being said, if you've never played the game, I highly recommend getting the remaster. It's going to blow your mind. Shadow of the Colossus is like one of those games that's like transcendent. That's another one of those like top 10 favorite games. I'm going to have to make that list eventually. And then we had God of War. God of War, without question, I think was the best thing that they showed. In terms of just like the graphics and everything, that's great. But what I love is how they're changing up the gameplay and the story of God of War, because I played the original trilogy. I didn't play the PSP titles or even that one final spin-off on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4. I forgot which one it was. I think it was Ascension. Correct me in the comment section. And I really liked the trilogy a lot. I thought that the action was crazy. It was so violent and over the top, and it was just this like really cool look at this over-the-top version of Greek mythology. And it seems like they're almost taking a step back, but it's actually a good thing for the series. Like, the way everything looks in this game is so different. A lot of that has to do with the over-the-shoulder style of Kratos, the way his combat is now. You're going to be much more up close to your enemy, which I think is going to make for a much more visceral experience, and it's just going to wow people a lot more. Also, it's going to make things like way bloodier and crazy. And then there's the storytelling, which in the old games basically was Kratos mad, Kratos kill. That was basically the entire thing about God of War. It's just him going on this bloody rampage. Here, there is this story arc about Kratos becoming a father and having to raise his son, and it's a really interesting dynamic. And it actually adds a lot more to this game series, and it just makes it seem like a little bit more of a complete package. I think that was something that was always missing from the original God of Wars, was a story that really got to you right here. If you combined that with that amazing gameplay and graphics, it has the potential to be the greatest damn thing that we've ever seen. That and just the trailer just looked badass. What else can I say? Especially when they wake up that giant dragon water thing, and apparently it's not even going to be an enemy, it's something that they'll be able to use in battle. just imagine what's going to be happening when Kratos is riding on top of that thing and fighting against things that are even bigger than that. This is the game that's going to have to use God of War as like its like stepping board and be like, how are we going to raise the bar? And that game was fucking awesome, and it came out years ago. Aside from that, the other games I showed for PS4, like Days Gone, honestly, I was not impressed by that demo. I'll say, technically speaking, it looks really good and everything, but it's not really doing anything new. It's basically just more of the same. Just another big open world game, except this time they're throwing in the zombie element. It's not like we haven't seen every single gameplay style in that in some other game before. It's just sort of a combination of all of those things. And I don't know, it really wasn't gelling with it all that much. What I was gelling with was Spider-Man. This, I think, was one of the most interesting decisions that Sony has ever made. It also shows the game developers are starting to take a lot of these third-party characters and realizing, hey, we don't need to just make a quick cash-in style game. We can make something that's really high caliber and pushes the bar a little bit. I think we have Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight and that whole series to sort of like thank for that. And it seems like they're trying to do the same thing here with Spider-Man. And a lot of that's very evident because this game seems to take a lot of influence from the Arkham series, especially with the way that you actually control Spider-Man. But I like that. I really like it a lot. You really do feel like the character. The fighting style is fast and fluid, and I like that there's almost different animations each time with when he's like fighting multiple bad guys at once, whether it's he's going in slow motion and shooting web shots at them, or shooting the webs into their feet and like throwing them over a rafter and tying them up and doing all this crazy shit. Just, it looks amazing. That, of course, with the set pieces, which, man, those are just insane. This great scene where, like, the player is chasing a helicopter through the city, and then eventually they get to this area with all these cranes that are starting to, like, fall and break around Spider-Man as you actually control him as he's running up them and swinging around all at the same time. Just, it's going to be a really cinematic game in such a crazy way, as well as just a big open-world Spider-Man game where you can strut your stuff. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it. I hope the story's going to be a lot of fun, too. Unlike Arkham, I think this game can have a little more fun with how crazy that it can get. Not to mention, it's introducing me to new Spider-Man villains that I've never even heard of, like Mr. Negative. But there's also going to be other classic characters in there, like the Kingpin, and probably a few more if they're definitely going to follow the Arkhamverse rules. We're probably going to see, like, just some of the best Spider-Man villains incorporated into the story in some way. I just can't wait for this one. It's going to be a Peter Parker Spider-Man game, but Miles Morales is also going to have a role. He actually appears at the very end as a sort of a little teaser for the fans. People who read those comics know he's kind of like the next Spider-Man, and he's become really, really popular. And I would love to see that implemented in the game with being able to play as both of them. But I didn't expect like a Spider-Man game to blow me away that much, but it looked great, it looked beautiful, and it just looks technically sound, which is everything that I've ever wanted from a Spider-Man game. And as far as I'm concerned, if this one really does turn out to be like another super great one like the Arkham series, this is just opening the floodgates for a lot of other amazing properties. Just imagine what we could possibly see in the future. So, that brings us to Nintendo. I've already gushed about Metroid, freaking favorite thing about the show. As a Pokemon fan, I'm super pumped up that they announced that they are going to be making a mainline Pokemon game on the Switch. Again, just like Metroid though, we don't know anything, we just know that it is something they're going to be working on. We might not even see it for a year or more. But the prospect of this happening now is official. It's kind of letting us know, too, like, we're sort of done with the 3DS at this point. I'm guessing Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are going to be the final games that you see on that system, and we're finally going to be moving headlong right now into this mainline Pokemon game, which I really hope they take advantage of the graphical fidelity and power of the Nintendo Switch. This is their opportunity to make something really big and really grandiose. We're going to see some crazy Pokemon battles like we have never seen before, and if it truly is a mainline Pokemon game, we're of course going to see new Pokemon, which is something that's going to blow people's minds. Of course, they're going to have to find some way to make it backwards compatible with the 3DS and Pokebank, because if they don't, people are going to lose their shit, and honestly, I'm one of them. I want to be able to transfer all the Pokemon that I still have to this brand new game and use them in this really crazy new environment, which, like I said, they need to take advantage of the power and the size of this game. Just, I can't even imagine what they could do with this. Like, I want to see, like, a new region, but I also want to, like, see them just, like, you know what, let's just go nuts here, okay? Let's recreate every single island from every single series in full, massive 3D and allow all of our players to play through all that in a massive, multiplayer world that's going to blow people's minds. It'd be the greatest thing ever. It really would, except Metroid Prime 4. That's way better. I'm more excited for that. Aside from that, there's also a couple other little surprise titles, like Kirby. I'm a big fan of the Kirby series. Not much to say about it. It basically just looks like a 4-player Kirby game, but it looks fun, and it's technically probably going to play really well, so that'll be great. There's a brand new Yoshi game, which I'm not sure how to feel about quite yet. I still don't think they've ever captured the magic of Yoshi's Island from SNES. I think that game is just singularly perfect. You know, Yoshi's story was fun, but it just wasn't the same thing. Yoshi's New Island was definitely not very good. All those other sequels, the closest they've gotten to it was Woolly World, and even still, I think that game just was a little too easy and still missed something. I honestly wish they would take the original style of Yoshi's story and sort of run with it. Like, in Dragon Ball FighterZ coming out on Microsoft, I know, weird comparison, they're making it look just like the anime, like it's just sprung to life. But I wish they would do the same thing for the original game, which of Yoshi's Island was done in this art style where everything looks like it was like drawn in crayon and marker. And I wish they would try to translate that into some sort of brand new art style that we've never seen before. Make everything look really hand-drawn and apply that to a Yoshi side-scroller and then just go really grandiose and crazy with it. Instead, we're getting like another craft-style game where everything's made out of cardboard and it looks okay, but I'm just not feeling it. And man, I don't know what it is, but I'm just not digging the new music that they've been incorporating into Yoshi games. They just seem so slow and somber and don't really like accompany like the actual like movements of Yoshi or anything. I don't know, it just feels weird to me. It's still probably going to be a fun game, and like Kirby, everything, like nothing too crazy. It's probably going to play really well. I just want to see more from the game. It could be very early in development, just like Kirby and a few of the others that have been announced. It's not coming out till 2018. Alright, so we have Kirby, we got Yoshi, Fire Emblem Warriors. I don't really have much to say about the one. I'm a very, like, minor Fire Emblem fan. I just don't have much of an opinion on the series. I've only played so many of them. Maybe I'll give it a shot. We'll just have to see. But then we have frickin' Mario Odyssey. This game is going to be the best game of 2017. I know everybody's just been going crazy about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and they should. The game is fucking awesome. I'm still playing it. It's great. But this is such an amazing return to form while also being something completely brand new that it's just got me so excited. Not only did it have maybe one of the greatest game trailers that I've ever seen, which had a piece of music which I cannot get out of my head, but I love how they're taking the Super Mario 64 formula and just multiplying it times 10 with all these brand new abilities, being able to use these hats, which you can use as a weapon, which you can use to take over the bodies of your enemies. You can transform into a giant T-Rex, which wears a Mario hat and has a little teeny mustache. That alone sells this entire game. The overall environments, like, I love all of the new worlds. The desert world, which has a lot of elements of Mexico. There's even Mario wearing a poncho and a sombrero. There's a lot of other outfits too. Like, there's a Chef Mario, there's Adventurer Mario, there's even Football Mario. It goes by really quick in the trailer, but you can see it when he's going through all his different costumes. There's Cook Mario. There's, of course, the ability to take over your enemies, and I love how every single time you do that, you can see this little mustache on them, sometimes a hat, which also does accompany it. I love the uniqueness of the environments, too, how they're really breaking the mold on this one, where in the original games, it was always like, you know, grassland, Iceland, desert world. In this one, it's like dinosaur land, a freaking real human city, black and white cartoon world. Everything is just so insane, and you can tell that they're having a lot of fun with it, and they're like, you know what? The Mario formula can be shaken up. It's really freaking weird. We can give something people have never seen before. I mean, there are photorealistic dinosaurs next to Mario in this game. They shouldn't be together, but damn it, they work, and I don't know how they're doing it. Not to mention, I also love all the little callbacks to the classic elements of the series, not just the overall aesthetic, but like one of the levels is called New Donk City, which is this massive cityscape that you get to run through Mario. And one of the characters from the original Mario games, the original Mario game, actually appears. It's actually a Donkey Kong game. You have Pauline, who apparently is going to be like the mayor of this city, and I believe she's the one who's actually singing the song throughout the entire trailer. And it makes sense why she'd be in a city that's like themed around Donkey Kong, which, man, I hope they put Donkey Kong in here. That's just gonna be great if there's like a huge boss battle against him in New Donk City, which could also involve Pauline being kidnapped, which would also be an amazing reference to the origins of freaking Donkey Kong and Mario altogether. The overall aesthetics of everything in this game are just perfect. It looks like it controls really well, and it comes out in October. I thought it wasn't going to be out until like the very end of November, maybe December. I'm going to be playing this thing before Halloween, and I'm really, really excited about that. This is definitely the game of the year for me. It's the one that I've been looking forward to the most. You know, if even with the announcement of the return of Samus on 3DS, like, it just has nothing on Super Mario Odyssey. This is the one. The only thing that could possibly, like, surpass this game would be Metroid Prime 4, and I have no idea what that's actually going to look like, but Super Mario Odyssey is doing some great things. I also love the boss battles, the new enemies, which are these rabbit characters, which, according to Nintendo, are the wedding planners of Bowser. That's another thing that's great about this game, is the aesthetic of Bowser and Peach getting married. Like, they're wearing these really great, like, white suits, with Bowser wearing this, like, big top hat, Peach in this white wedding dress, and having a bouquet of flowers, which are actually piranha plants. Little things like that. And there's going to be brand new amiibo that are going to be accompanying this, and a ton of other new games, which, damn it, Nintendo, you just want to keep making me broke, don't you? You know, the only one of the Mario ones that I'm looking forward to is probably the Bowser in the Tuxedo, which I just think looks so freaking great. I also love the new Metroid amiibo, like the new Samus one. I love the pose that she's in. It just looks so badass. And there's a Metroid one, which is like hanging out next to this like broken canister, and it's squishy. It's squishy, guys. It's squishy. That's why you want it. Just, man, Nintendo blew me away this year, and it also made me glad that I got a Nintendo Switch, because by the end of it, I'm going to have damn near a dozen games for the system already within the first year, with the promise of a lot more coming in 2018. You know there are going to be some other surprises in the pipeline, so it's definitely a big reason to get excited, and that's really all my thoughts on E3. I guess there was already also Mario and Rabbids Kingdom, which I need to see more of that game, and I don't like the Rabbids that much, but the actual concept of the game being like a strategy and everything, I think that actually does look kind of interesting, and for the Switch, it's perfect. It's the perfect on-the-go style of game where you play a couple battles, you shut the system off. But I mean, it pales in comparison to any of my hype that I have for the Metroid games and Mario Odyssey, which without a doubt are the things I'm most excited for. This conversation could honestly go on for like another hour and a half if I were to just look at everything here, but I just don't have the time for that. I just wanted to give my thoughts on some of my favorite games that they showed off at E3 this year, and I loved just about everything I saw. It's making me realize I've got to get more work to pay for this shit, but it's still going to be fun. You know, who needs food when you got freaking Super Mario Odyssey and Metroid Prime 4? But still, there it is. I'm just rambling at this point. Really, I want to hear from you guys, though. You've heard me talking for way too long now, but I want to hear your thoughts about this year's E3, what games you were looking forward to the most, if you had any favorite moments, or something maybe that you were even disappointed by, and maybe just tell me what you're looking forward to be playing the next year and then going into 2018. Also, I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well. I've been doing this YouTube channel for a long time, and I've always wanted to do something like video game oriented, and I've been considering launching a brand new YouTube channel in 2018 that's going to go along with Super Kami Guru 9000. It's never going away as far as I'm concerned. But I'd like to do something video game oriented. I've always wanted to. I just want to learn how to capture video game footage, which with PS4 is very easy, but like I want to be able to do that with like Nintendo stuff and be a part of their ambassador program, because I love Nintendo games and I love talking about them, and I get excited just like seeing them and seeing brand new trailers, and I rarely have an opportunity to do that. And you know, Christian, who's also a part of the channel and also someone that I work with personally, like, he likes some Nintendo games. He even has a Nintendo Switch himself, but a lot of these games he just does not give a shit about, like Mario or Metroid or anything, and I only have so many friends that are kind of into that, so this is sort of like my outlet for discussing my love of all these games, and I'd like to do more Nintendo-type discussions in the future. But still, that's just really all I have to say. Again, like I said, just tell me your thoughts about E3 this year, what your favorite stuff was, and that concludes this ridiculous discussion, which I just sort of did off the cuff, but I felt like I had to talk about this stuff a little bit more. I couldn't contain my hype for any of it, so there it is. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure to take care. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.